ஹாய், என் பேர் பவித்ரா. நான் கிர்கிஸ்தானில் செகண்ட் இயர் எம்பிபிஎஸ் படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கேன். நிறைய பேர் என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்கன்னா, இந்தியாவை கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது அப்ராடில் வந்து எம்பிபிஎஸ் பண்ணால் நிறைய செலவாகும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க. அப்படிலாம் எதுவுமே கிடையாது. இந்தியாவை கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது இங்கே 4 டைம்ஸ் ரொம்பவே சீப்பராக தான் இருக்கும். அண்ட் நான் வந்து பர் இயருக்கு வந்து 4 lakhs கிட்ட டியூஷன் ஃபீஸ் பே பண்ணுறேன். ஸோ ஓவரால் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எனக்கு வந்து 5 yearsமே 20 lakhsக்குள்ளே கம்ப்ளீட் ஆயிரும். ஸோ டியூஷன் ஃபீஸ் பற்றி நீங்கள் எதுவும் வரி பண்ணிக்க வேணாம். அண்ட் இன்னும் அப்ராட் ரிலேட்டடாக ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு டவுட்ஸ் இருக்குது, ஃபீஸ் பற்றி ஏதாவது டவுட்ஸ் இருக்குன்னா இந்த நம்பருக்கு வாட்ஸ்அப் பண்ணிக்கோங்க.
Let me show you. These are people from a country that doesn't exist. Let me show you. I am in the country of Kyrgyzstan, which means land of the Kyrgyz people. But there is one group of people living here who are not Kyrgyz. They came from China, but they are not Chinese. So who are they? They are called Dungan people, and they have their own language, their own cuisine, and even their own temples. But they do not have their own country. At first, it seems like a unique situation, but the truth is that most ethnic groups don't have their own country. We call them stateless nations, and there are about 3,000 of them all over the world. So when someone says their goal is to visit every country, they may want to rethink that, because the world is much larger than the number of countries we currently have.
Hello everyone and welcome to Mr. This is Asia, and here's Kyrgyzstan. Now come on, let's go, shall we? Nestled in the midst of the Tian Shan mountains of Central Asia, Kyrgyzstan was in ancient times inhabited by the Iranian Scythians, whose horses thundered through the pristine valleys for centuries. But as you may have noticed, the country's called Kyrgyzstan, not Scythianistan. So where does the Kyrgyz fit into the stan? Well, the Kyrgyz are a Turkic people who migrated from the east, settling for some time in the forests along the banks of the Yenisei River in Siberia around the 6th century. Not far from Mongolia, the Kyrgyz fell under the rule of the Uyghur people in the mid-700s, but were far from willing subordinates. And in 840, the Kyrgyz broke free and drove the Uyghurs out of Mongolia, who would later settle in northwest China. Meanwhile, the Kyrgyz folk began spreading out and taking up residence in what would one day be known as Kyrgyzstan. But for over 100 years ruled over a far bigger expanse. All this ended in the early 1200s as the Mongols took over. So the centuries passed and the Kyrgyz kept largely to themselves, breeding horses, growing barley and practicing their shamanistic religion in the shadows of the mountains. By the 16th and 17th centuries, most Kyrgyz lived where they do now, and the early 18th century saw them locked in vicious war with the Mongol Dzungar people, a conflict that persisted until the Chinese crushed the Dzungar after 1755. Chinese rule was followed by that of the Uzbek Khanate of Kokon, during which time Islam was introduced. And then the late 19th century saw Kyrgyzstan fall to the Russian Empire, and subsequent uprisings were ruthlessly stamped out. Russian rule followed into the Soviet era, in which time the country modernized and saw standards of living improve. Finally, in 1991, Kyrgyzstan became a sovereign nation after centuries of being bullied and pushed about by its neighbors. The interestingly eyebrowed Askar Akayev became the first president. As with all countries, things went well and then not so well, and the economy began to suffer in the mid-90s, and the president, increasingly accused of corruption, was overthrown in the Tulip Revolution of 2005. The new president was also accused of corruption, and fiery demonstrations flared up in 2010, which police suppressed with live ammunition, killing 80 and wounding many more. As the protests continued, the president fled to Belarus. A decade later, and the country was still outraged over government corruption. And Kyrgyzstan today, with its medium level of human development, is classed as a developing nation, and hopefully better times await the citizens of this beautiful country. So that's it for Kyrgyzstan, and that's all from me for now. Bye-bye!
Iriskul Moldakmatova is burning juniper leaves. It's part of a Tengris ritual to remove negative energy and bad spirits from people. It involves throwing water from a holy spring at the person receiving treatment. Iriskul became involved with Tengrism 18 years ago while experiencing personal problems.
I've had a lot of tests in my life. I lost contact with my son. He went to Russia to find work when he was 21. Now it's 18 years since I last heard from him. I became very ill, became mentally ill. I started looking for myself. I started to go to all the holy places in Kyrgyzstan. Only then I find peace in myself, in my soul.
Iriskel was taught about Tengrism by her parents, but she didn't fully realize what it was because the Soviet Union was officially atheist. Now she's part of a movement that believes life is sustained by the sky, known as Tengri, and that benefits can be gained from praying to our ancestors. So sometimes I suffer from an animal hair allergy, and the people here have advised me that if I wash my arms in this holy water and say Shipar Shipar, that the condition will get better. So I'm going to give it a try. Shipar Shipar. The religion is based on nomadic traditions, going back well over 1,500 years. And this is its holiest site in Kyrgyzstan, known as the Disappeared Spring. It also has traditions on how food is cooked. And now its supporters want official recognition from the Kyrgyz government.
Officially registered organisations are better controlled and create a more favourable atmosphere for the spiritual life of people and society. Therefore, because Tengrism has a lot of supporters in Kyrgyzstan, it must be registered. That's so the organisation that preaches Tengrism will be fully responsible for society, for its flock, and for the fact that it teaches people.
Tezekbayev Kubanyechek is praying in a ceremony that uses natural light. It's rituals like these that some people hope can help cure physical and mental problems. About 1,000 visitors arrive every year, some from Russia and Turkey, many looking for answers they can't find elsewhere. Andrew Hopkins, TRT World, Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan.